Hi guys, today is another day. I am going to work. Last night I worked, and in my previous video that was the beginning of 4 shifts in a row, and so today is the second day I'm going for my 4 shifts in a row. Last night I worked on my usual step down ICU unit and I loved it. It was an easy shift, even though things did not fall into place the way I would have loved it to, because I started with 2 patients and then I got 1 patient, then I got another patient, so it just kept me waiting for my patient. So I didn't really have like so much time to film what I would have wanted to film, because I was like, I don't want to go do something and then whilst I'm in the middle of it, my patient from the ED or my patient from another facility came in and I wasn't ready to receive the patient. Because normally when my new patient comes onto the unit, I always love to be there to welcome them, make your first skin assessment and ask any other questions or doubts that you might have had, especially from the nurse who gave you reports. So that is always a good thing. I always love to be there to make sure that I see the patient, and if I have any further questions I can always ask the nurse. So guys, let's go to the unit tonight. I hope it's going to be an amazing shift. So far all my 4 patients don't look like they will be discharged, except 1 patient who was wanting to leave AMA, but I had to call the provider and the provider came and spoke to the patient and the patient changed their mind. They said they were going to leave today morning, but let's see, because this patient still isn't medically clear to leave. They actually need urgent dialysis, but they don't want to wait. The reason they were saying they wanted to leave was because they said they were missing family. They had been in the hospital for too long, and family wasn't really visiting them that often as they would have loved. And they also said they were missing their plants or their vegetables and their chickens and all of that, so they really wanted to go home. So aside from that patient, I know that I'm still going to have the same patient probably, and I expect the shift to be an amazing one. So guys, let's go to the step down ICU unit of the 9th floor. I'll see you guys.
I don't know about you, but I enjoy short commute to work. In my previous job, I had to drive an hour to work and I hated it. In this current job, I had to drive only 10, 12, sometimes 8 minutes depending on the traffic. And yes, guys, I am now in the garage of the hospital and I am desperately looking for the closest parking spot next to the hospital. And of course, I found a space at the last row.
And so guys, I just got to the parking lot. It is 6:10. Like I said, I always love coming very early so that I can go check my patients and before I get reports, so that I can even have a heads up as to what to ask the nurse if they forget to tell me. And so I'll quickly jump out of my car and get into the hospital building. I'll see you guys in the building on the 9th floor. Let's go guys, it's gonna be fun.
After making sure I had parked safely in the garage, it was time for me to walk into the hospital building. Now, believe it or not, sometimes I love it when I come to the hospital. Sometimes I'm just like, But anyways, work has to be done. The patients have to be cared for. Now, after I was done taking my bedside shift reports for all 4 patients, I quickly rushed onto the computer to read notes on all my patients, to look at what had been done during the day shift, to write down their medications. Even though tonight was the 4th night in a row, sometimes their medications will be the same, and so I just go ahead and use the medication list that I have been using for the past 3 or 4 nights and just take out or add whichever ones have been taken out and add whichever ones have been put in. And I always love to ask questions. Remember when I posted a video where I said in this current hospital I didn't know that they didn't draw lab values from a central line which was used for dialysis? And so after that incident, I always make sure that if I had any doubt, I made sure to always ask the charge nurse. And so here I was asking the charge nurse what her opinion was as to reaching out to the day shift doctor or the night provider as to who should kind of give me the go ahead on what to do in this situation. I got hold of the night provider, whom they call the cross cover in this hospital, and they gave me the go ahead to do what I had to do for the patient. Now here I was getting reports from a new patient who was coming from another facility, and usually I love to have my own brain, which I know what to ask and what to expect, especially if I know what the patient's diagnosis is. In this case, this patient who had a stroke, I was asking like, hey, is the patient confused? What is their orientation? Why are they coming here? Do they have drains? What are their IV access? Because guess what? This patient was coming to this hospital and this patient was going to be on antibiotics. This patient was probably going to be getting a procedure, and so you want to know if they are consentable to that procedure, to sign their consent for the procedure. That's what I mean by consentable. Just know the kind of question to ask, their vital signs, especially their orientation. And I also had to ask if family was coming with the patient, just so that if the patient was so confused and this procedure was urgent, so family could always go ahead and sign the consent form for the patient. And I had to ask the charge nurse to help me with another patient who was calling. And one thing I love about my unit is the teamwork here is formidable. Like, we help each other so much. When one person is busy, we jump in to go help the other person. If a patient is calling for pain medicine and the nurse is busy with some other patient, we quickly jump in, even the charge nurses, to help pull that medication and give to the patient. So I love the teamwork on this unit. Now, this patient was coming with a lot of things, and so I had to make sure that I had everything ready, everything I needed to know about this patient, and everything, especially in the room, that was needed for the patient. I knew the patient was anuric, so I didn't have to worry about maybe any Foley output and things like that. Asking for the patient's pain level. They mentioned something about the patient's fistula, and they were saying the patient has fistulas to the left and to the right. And I was like, so which one are we going to be talking about the patient using for their dialysis? Anyways, it was now time for me to move on to start writing down my medications. And I had reached out to pharmacy regarding the medication that I needed, and they had sent it through the tube system. At this point, the CNA was giving me the blood sugar for one of my patients who was scheduled to receive insulin tonight. And it turns out that this patient was due to receive insulin, but guess what? The patient's potassium was on the low side. And you know what insulin does to hypokalemia? Insulin is going to drop potassium even lower, and we all know what potassium does to the heart. I didn't want to take any chances on any of my patients coding while on my shift, because during the code blue and having a patient pass away and you have to clean and all that back and forth is usually not a pleasant thing I love doing, even though it's something that has to be done. But if there is something that I as a nurse can do to prevent it, especially when it concerns patient safety, then that is my utmost priority. And so guys, it's time for me to start pulling my medications. I had a lot of reading of notes, especially because I'm expecting a new patient and the patient is coming from another facility again. So they decided to take one of my patients and give it to another nurse so that they could balance it out, so that everybody gets a new patient as an admission tonight. So I had a lot of questions. I've gotten reports for the new patient, so I had a lot of questions. I was chit-chatting with the charge nurse just to see if what to expect for the patient. So I'm here now to pull my 8 o'clock or 9 p.m. medications, and let's do this, guys. After my little catch up with you guys, it was now time for me to do business as usual. Time to pull medications for my patient. So guys, I feel like I've done so many of these my night shift videos for you guys, and can you guys let me know in the comment section if these videos are helpful? I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, even though I am a nurse and I know that every shift is definitely different. Drop in the comment section how these videos are helping you, depending on the comments, and if somebody really wants me to continue this kind of series, and if somebody has any questions, I might make more of these kind of videos. So guys, one of my patients has only these IV antibiotics. This is Zocin 3.375. I already connected it and mixed it. I want it to kind of dissolve
and here it is. And then my next patient is going to be receiving Lipitor or atorvastatin. Their sodium bicarbonate, their Bumex, because they are fluid overload. They are here for CHF as well, and they are also a dialysis patient. Potassium is actually okay as at now. It is a 4.1. Patient is also on the blood thinner heparin sub-Q, and this is the needle for the heparin. It's usually a tuberculosis the PPD syringe that we use, and the patient gets 3 units short acting as well as 10 units glargine long acting insulin. So the patient is on insulin, ACHS protocol, because the patient originally came in here for DKA, and heparin sub-Q, Bumex, now diagnosed with CKD and AKI, which is the reason why the patient is also on sodium bicarb, and the patient has a history of hyperlipidemia, and they are getting atorvastatin. So my third patient is supposed to be getting 1 unit of insulin, which is the only medication scheduled for tonight, but I'll have to hold that insulin because I had to reach out to the provider, because the patient's potassium is currently at 2.5. Remember that insulin is going to drop potassium even more, so I have to hold it and wait for labs to be drawn again, even though labs came back for 2.5 potassium at 5, and it's currently 8 p.m, but we need to still redraw and see where the potassium stands at, and maybe give like a start potassium medication before we decide if to give the insulin. So that will be the patient's only medication for tonight, or as at now. So I just have 2 patients right now. The patient getting all this bunch of insulin and pills, and the one getting the IV antibiotic. And the third patient, I'll have to wait for the potassium to come back. If it's stable, which I doubt, we'll give the insulin, but if it's still low, I'll have to hold off on the insulin. So guys, I'll be going now to administer my medications, and I'm going to be giving you guys update, obviously in the break room. I'll see you guys shortly. Okay guys, turns out my patient whose potassium was 2.5 with the start lab still came back 2.5, so we're going to have to give the patient a replacement of potassium oral 40 milli equivalent every 3 hours, and then we'll check after 3 a.m. or maybe after like 5 a.m, kind of like 2 hours after the medication, to see where the potassium stands at. So I'll have to give them their 1 unit of insulin as well as a potassium replacement. So at this point I want to pull insulin and potassium for this patient. So let me go ahead and pull my patient's medications.
So one of my patients was requesting for a snack, and at this time, after verifying what their diet was, I had to check in the refrigerator what they wanted, and if we had in the refrigerator, pull it out and go give it to them. They were so happy to have a snack before they went to bed.
So guys, at this point I'm done passing my medications for my 3 patients. Again, I'm still waiting for my patient who is coming from another facility. Everybody seems situated and they're ready to go to sleep. I just came here just to update you guys. So far my patient's potassium came back 2.5. I had to give them a potassium replacement oral and give them the 1 unit of insulin for blood sugar of 239. So the patient is going to get that 3 times at 9, midnight and 3 a.m, and then sometime around 4 or 5 we're going to recheck the potassium and see where we are. Aside that, I'll be going back out there to start doing my sheet assessment documentation, and I have 1 patient's urine output to document as well, and that'll be it for now. So I'll be going back out there to start documenting.
Usually, after I get my shift report, I write down my medications, I read the notes. The next thing I usually do is pull my medications. Once I give to the patient, then I sit down, make sure that they've had everything they need to just go to sleep. If they want any pain medicines, I get that. If they want any sleeping medications, I give it to them. And then the next thing is for me to start documenting. So every other nurse was ordering out, and so I decided to just join them and order out, even though I always religiously bring my own lunch, but I decided to just join in the fun, and why not? It turned out I had no regrets.
So I'm done chatting my shift assessment for all my 3 patients. It is 11:03 and my patient from the other facility is not here yet. So I just came to take a quick break. Now, one of the staff nurses, I think, or PCT or CNAs, was doing, has a food truck and she's kind of selling food. So we all on the unit kind of ordered for it last night, and our charge nurse went to pick it up. So everyone is busy eating at this. I kind of feel weird eating in the nursing station, which is the reason why I always have my break in the break room. So I'm here to quickly dig in, and I had to check on my patients before leaving. I'm just so OCD. I love always checking my patients before I come from my break, because I want to know that they are stable, they don't need any pain medicine, or if they need help, using number 1 and number 2, just help them before I step out. And pretty much vital signs should look stable. So at this point everybody looks good, and I'm here now to kind of dig in quick into the food. This is what we're working with. Kind of like. So I'm going to take a quick break, and I have my water in here. So I have difficulties drinking water. So what I've decided to do, which is currently working for me, is that I put lemon in my water, and it does a trick in making me drink and finish all my water. So I know for this night I'm going to have to finish this. And I just have a quick question for my night shift peeps out there. Do you guys take your break in the nursing station, or do you take your break in the break room like me? I kind of feel weird eating in the nursing station. If it's something to snack on, like a chips or something, yes, I can do that. But I don't get when people eat out in the nursing station, and so I always eat in the break room. So let me know, are you team eating in the break room, or are you team, let's just eat in the nursing station? I know with night shift we can get away with this because there's no administration around. But for day shift, I know it's a challenge because there's always, administration, family, patients, and there's always a lot of things to do, and you keep being interrupted to your break or your eating time. But let me know in the comment section, are you team eating in the break room, or are you team eating in the nursing station? I'll read your comments. So my patient got here and their sugar is a 69, and so I'll have to give them D50. Okay guys, so I got interrupted because my new patient got on the floor, and it was a back and forth with the patient because the patient had a lot to verify, check, do assessments. Patient has a femoral IV, which is usually a concern for infection, so we're going back and forth as to whether to pull it out. But that was the patient's only IV access. Patient is a heart stick. Patient has a fistula, or is the fistula on the right or on the left? Because on one arm you can feel the thrill, on the other arm you can feel, or you can hear the swishing sound. And then after like an hour, the family got to the bedside because the patient was flown here into the hospital, so the family had to drive and come to the hospital. So when they got here, we had to ask all those questions. Felt like the patient had a pacemaker. We did an EKG. EKG said a pacemaker, but when the doctor came to the bedside, he said he doesn't think it's a pacemaker. The patient just has a protruding chest. It's just been a lot. The patient has a wound on the sacrum. We have to make sure the patient is comfortable. Dialysis patient is in URIC. no edema, thank God. Patient kind of non-verbal, so patient is here for a perforated bowel after a procedure, so they'll have to go for a drain placement in the morning, which is kind of like an emergency, but she's on a bunch of IV antibiotics at this time just so she doesn't get septic again. And so that was kind of like 2 hours that I've been out. I was actually interrupted from my break, as you guys saw me was eating, so I'm back 2 hours. And another thing, I had to check the patient's blood sugar. Blood sugar was 69, so I had to give the patient D50. Patient non-verbal, patient not eating, arousable, alert, but like I said, non-verbal, so risk for aspiration. Patient is NPO at this point. The patient is following commands. Patient is alert and oriented to run just to serve, and hopefully nothing happens. Patient still full cold. Family is going to be spending the night, and that was it. So I need to quickly finish my yummy food and then take my patient down. One of my other patients needs to go down for a CT of the chest and a CT of the abdomen. So let me quickly finish this and take the patient down for the CT scan. I'll see you guys later on.
Now, after finishing my food, it was time for me to take down my patient, and here I am in the CT scan room with the tech actually doing her thing and getting the patient prepped. Usually when we bring the patient downstairs, they only want us to just leave the patient there, and they do the heavy lifting of transferring the patient onto the board of the machine that is going to slide them into the scanning device. So myself and the tech who brought the patient down were in the room that is off of the radiology or the UV lights or whatever rays that are being used for this scan. Usually they don't want any other person in that room except the patient during the procedure. So we usually will stand in the room whilst they are doing the thing for the patient.
Okay guys, it's time for me to pull out my 6 o'clock medications. As you know, I am very excited for my morning medications. And also one of my patients have been replacing potassium. Unfortunately, the potassium went from 2.5 to 2.9, so I have to give some more potassium. And here I am pulling more medications for this patient, so I'm excited to pull my morning medications. It is 5:43, and yeah, let's pull our 6 o'clock medications, guys.
It's now time for the last round of medications for my 12-hour long night shift. I am excited.
So here is my 6 o'clock medications. I have my 6 o'clock labs at this time, so I'm here to collect my tubes and everything that I'm going to need for lab draw for my patient who has a central line. Basically, the patient has a left femoral IV access, a very big source of infection, but at this point, since the patient came at 2 in the morning, there was no way we could pull it out and kind of get like a PICC line because the patient is a heart stick. So we are just having to do with it until day shift can figure out if the patient needs a midline, a PICC line, or something of that sort. So I'm here now to get my supplies for my lab draws. So I'm going to be needing a green tube, 2 purples. I need a CBC. Can't remember, but I need 2 purples, 1 green and 1 blue. Going to take a lab specimen bag, and definitely, since I have 4 tubes, I'm going to be needing a big syringe. I also will take a couple of flushes as well as a needle. So this is everything I'm going to be needing, and some gloves. So this is what I'm going to need for my lab drawers: 2 purples, 1 blue, 1 green. Blood collection, I usually flush and then collect my waste with this, and then collect my blood and then flush. I need it to transfer into the tube and more flushes. So this is everything. Patient's label is in the room, and I'll see you guys when I'm done with the lab drawer. After my blood samples were drawn, it then dawned on me that one of my patients needed samples as well, a urine sample as well as a poop sample to be sent down to the lab, and I had to quickly do that before shift change. I usually do not like to leave my responsibility or push my responsibility to the other shift, because I wouldn't like it if it is done to me. It was now time for me to exit out of the building, and thank you guys for staying right up to the end of this video. Thank you so much.